Broads Media.
It never ends, my friends. It never ends. Joel Embiid once again making post-game remarks that makes him look like a fool. We'll talk about it all. Before we do, though, hello, welcome on in to Broads Media. If you are new to the channel, you can hit that lovely subscribe button and thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate your support. And you can take these podcasts that we do here on YouTube on the road with you. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And if you subscribe over there, leave a 5-star rating and a review. That helps out the algorithm, so I love you. Thank you. If you want more Broads Media content your way, well, then you can join the memberships here on YouTube, and you will get access to Coffee with Broads live streams twice a week, Monday and Thursday morning at 11 a.m. That's 8 live streams a month, and you also get access to our Discord channel, so do not miss out on that. Here's my last thing, and then I promise we'll get into the hoops. Garage beer. There's something that needs to happen when you watch this basketball team on a night-to-night basis, and that's drink. And that's drink garage beer. It's the best light beer to ever touch my lips. Don't worry about an IPA taste. It's 100% light beer. It's 1,000% quality. DrinkGarageBeer.com. All the information is down below. Thank you all so much, and enjoy the show. What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. The 2-12 Sixers. Every time we do this, the 2-12. It was the 2-10. It was the 2-11. This team sucks. So much so that the Sixers have to start over. They have to start over. And yes, I'm aware of contractually how this goes with Embiid, with when he signed an extension and all that stuff. I'm talking for us right now as a fan base. It is time to apply pressure to stop this garbage of the Joel Embiid experience whenever they get the opportunity to send him to a different town. It is time to have that discussion because they are terrible. And when your basketball team, when they have a team meeting and the next chance they touch the floor, they are down by essentially 20 points to a shorthanded Memphis team without Ja Morant, Marcus Smart, and key contributors, wrap it up. Tie a fucking bow on that thing and toss it right in the trash. It should have been the complete opposite. You need to make a statement and win by 20 plus. So then maybe there's something to hold on to. Maybe there's a reason to be optimistic that could have turned the season around, those important conversations that happened inside the locker room. Instead, embarrassing. And while Embiid did have a fine day statistically, post-game, we got, woe is me, I'm the victim, Joel Embiid. If it continues to follow you, Joel, and you think it's just random and it's just happening naturally, you're silly. There's reasons why you are getting picked apart. There's reasons why you are getting a lot of the blame. And until you self-assess, nothing's ever going to change. And if you don't know what I'm referencing, after the game ended in Memphis, he said, it's whatever. I'll take it all. I'm the reason for everything, so I'll take the blame for everything. Once again, Embiid doesn't get it. It's not landing. It's not getting through that thick skull. And that also implies that why are you coming after me? Did you see my teammates? Why is it always me? And who he's talking to there? It's the fans. It's the fans. There is a real toxic relationship happening right now between Embiid and the city. And I don't think it's fixable. When he returns to the Wells Fargo Center, I am fascinated to hear the reception. This franchise needs to admit that they cannot continue to squeeze the juice out of this lemon because you're not getting any juice. Paul George gets re-injured. Now they're going to have to assess that. Last time he went down with something like this, it took 3 weeks, and then there was a minute restriction, and then he didn't play the back-to-back against Cleveland. So if we're talking another month, this was Daryl Morey's plan. There were certain decisions made last season with the idea of a bunch of flexibility, if you will, specifically with that Tobias Harris deal coming off the books. This was supposed to be an incredible attempt to push forward. This is what they were waiting for. This run, this opportunity, this team. They're 2-12. We can keep saying 2-12, but until you sit here and really absorb what I'm saying, they're 2-12. 2-12. They're winless with Embiid. And for as great as he played, what happened late? What's Joel Embiid's biggest knock? Turning over the basketball. And I don't want to hear for a second that it's not really his fault because he doesn't have the continuity with his new teammates. It's always something. He also looked tired. So he looked tired. He doesn't have continuity. Enough's enough. Sometimes we got to stop making excuses and we got to face reality. The Joel Embiid experiment did not work. And what I'm not going to do is act like they should have done this 5 years ago. I mean, I took a billion phone calls about fans who wanted him gone 6 seasons ago. Hey, God bless you. You're significantly smarter than I'll ever be. I could live with the Joel Embiid that we used to get. This is a new phase. For you WWE fans, we got a heel turn. Joel Embiid is now playing a massive villain card. But for majority of the Embiid tenure, I could support, hear me out, what I was getting in this way. Maybe by the end of it, we wouldn't have won a championship because there's something missing in Joel Embiid. Clutch, injuries, whatever it was, right? But honestly, I could put my head down on my pillow every night if I got Joel Embiid maximizing his body and what it was capable of doing, putting in effort, putting in time, putting in hard work. If we could get the Embiid that was inspired to play with fire, with passion, with the want, with the will, and there was a time we had that. I don't see it now. Now it's entitled. Now it's frustrated. Now it's, I don't give a damn about you. That's sort of the vibe we're getting now. And nobody knew 5-6 years ago that he was just straight up not showing up on time. And maybe that wasn't happening early, but then there was a transition when it would become the norm once he felt entitled and once the Sixers allowed for him to run the asylum. At some point, I'd have to imagine there was a switch in place. This wasn't happening in Kansas with Bill Self, even through his injuries. I can't imagine that's the case. So if I got an Embiid that just gave me what he had and laid it all out there and put in the time and effort and everything, I would be willing to go down with the Joel Embiid ship. And if ultimately it wasn't enough, then so be it. But I can at least respect it. I don't respect it anymore. And that's probably the biggest knock you can take as a person in any walk of life. once you lose respect from your peers, it's all over. And I was actually listening to Devon Givens on PHLY break this thing down. And he said he was talking to someone close to the situation. I'm paraphrasing, but man, people don't like Embiid. These were some pretty harsh words and pretty harsh reality of the NBA circle and the lack of respect. And Devon's not the one to just throw around nonsense and to look for certain clickbait stuff. I mean, he's good people with a good logical mind, okay? If you're getting information like that from him, it means a lot. And I almost had to do a quadruple take, like, what? Which plays a role into this whole what's being pushed agenda nationally. Pat Beverly spoke about Joel. Lou Will spoke about Joel. And a few things here. Lou Will is saying it was overblown. This is typical damage control. He started off his little spiel by saying, I so happened to be on the phone with some of the Sixers after that meeting. What do you mean you so happened? Oh, what? Hey, I bumped into him at a coffee shop. Hey, I just happened to be walking my dog on 24th and Market, and we bumped into each other on the sidewalk. No! It was leaked. Shams reported it. The following day, the former NBA player is taking the NBA player side of it. It wasn't overblown. Tyrese Maxey, as a 24-year-old, had to tell the franchise player, forget the tone, forget how long it took, 30 seconds, 30 minutes, 30 hours. It doesn't matter. Good tune, by the way. Kanye West, fantastic. But anyway, The Life of Pablo, great album. It doesn't matter how long the message took to deliver. The reality is the fact that you ever needed to be told is enough to sound the alarms. It wasn't overblown. Tyrese Maxey had to tell the franchise to show up. And we go as you go. As if that was an unknown? As if that never registered in his own head? Lou Will was playing the side for Embiid. That's what happened. Now, Embiid thinks whoever leaked it is a, quote, real piece of shit. Joel, look around. Do you know who leaked it? The Sixers. Do you know why the Sixers leaked it? Because it wasn't getting through. And they felt the need to go public with it because you weren't having the professional response that they were looking for. That's my first theory. I mean, as soon as the meeting's over, you're talking about how Jimmy Butler's the greatest teammate, greatest player in the world. Sorry, the greatest player on the planet in the league. And then you also go, what? We had a meeting? I mean, it's irresponsible. There was one way to approach it when you got asked moments after the meeting. We had a very important meeting in there. I love those guys. I can't wait to go to work with them. I can't wait to see this game on Memphis. We're going to have a response. I believe in this crew. I love this crew. And we needed to talk. There's no doubt about it. I'm glad we talked. I'm excited that we talked. And I'm excited to see how we play the next time we're on the field. Or on the court, sorry. Little football mind. Just some variation of that. So theory one is the Sixers needed to because they have to start applying pressure. I need to put this little wrinkle in the mix, though. The Sixers are to blame for the way that they gave Joel Embiid all this power to begin with over the years. Now, not everybody was here at that particular time, but that is part of the reason why we are in this disaster to begin with. And the Sixers must start over. I don't want to hear that we need to get time with him and Maxey and Paul George. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. No amount of time is fixing this. They're not going to win a championship because they all hate each other. They don't like one another. There's turmoil. And before you go, well, Shaq and Kobe. Yo, if you think this is Shaq and Kobe, I got beautiful homes in South Jersey here, right on Lake Michigan for you. If you think they're going to be Kobe and Shaq, I got nice property on Lake Michigan here in South Jersey for you. Come talk to me. Let me get my second theory out of the way, and then I want to touch on how Nick Sirianni can teach the Sixers something. You heard me. Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, Tyrese Maxey, Nick Nurse. Who looks better after this was leaked? Tyrese Maxey looks like a pro. Tyrese Maxey looks like a leader. Nick Nurse gets some wiggle room and gets to escape the madness. Clutch Sports and Rich Paul getting their little voice into the mix is not a surprise either. So some variation of that. You got to remember that this locker room, they don't care for one another. Outside of Maxey and Embiid, all these other guys, Eric Gordon, Caleb Martin, you think they have emotional and personal connections with this group? Of course not. So for Embiid to sort of nonchalantly walk in every single day, half-assing it, not caring at all about being on time. You're 1 hour into your practice, and here's Joel Embiid showing up. Of course, these guys in the locker room are going to start hating your guts and creating a poor relationship. But it's all based on your actions, Joel, and it doesn't seem like he's aware of that. He's playing the woe is me, I'm the victim, whatever, I'll take the blame, I guess. Whatever, it's always my fault, implying that other people deserve all the blame in the world. There is blame to go around. I don't like what Nick Nurse has done. It looks like Nick Nurse is cracking. His job is to make sure this stays on the rails as much as humanly possible, even through a very toxic work environment that's being created by a superstar who was here prior to you coming. With that said, Joel Embiid created this mess. You can't survive in a wild, toxic work environment to the level that you want to. If you want to fail, then by all means. If you want to be the New York Jets, if you want to be the New York Giants, if you want to be a team like that, then yeah, turmoil, good stuff. But this was supposed to be set up for one of their best cracks at an NBA championship. And Embiid's looking around like, I have no idea why. This Pat Bev thing, Pat Bev gave his thoughts since he was a teammate of Joel. And he essentially imitated Embiid. And one of the things that came out of his mouth was Embiid pretty much saying how disappointing it is. He has to drive an hour and a half, an hour plus to get to practice, and that's why he can't be on time. Well, that just didn't get pulled out of thin air. That's probably something Joel Embiid has said in the past. If you're mimicking someone and imitating someone, then you're probably going off of something that they've said previously. So I believe there's probably truth to Joel Embiid complaining that he lives too far. And when Pat Bev says, yo, you got to be on time, that's a response that Embiid previously had. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? You live too far? Here's a pointer. Move. You know what you signed up for. You know where the facility is. You understood the assignment and the job. You knew you'd be locked in when you got a contract. Move. Be somewhere that can get you to the damn facility on time. He should be the one that if practice starts at 11, he's there at 9, getting in work. Not on the court. I'm saying rehab, knees, massage, you name it. When Nick Nurse enters the facility, Embiid's there. When every teammate enters the facility, Embiid's there. Embiid should be living there. Instead, we got an out-of-shape person who's turning the ball over late again and doesn't care enough about keeping the culture the way it needs to be to succeed. Here's where I give Nick Sirianni a bunch of credit. A bunch of credit. And I actually had this pulled up and I forgot to put it on this desktop. I had it on my other desktop when I was preparing my show. This may sound silly, but if you remember, a little ways back, there was a situation where Nick Sirianni canceled a team meeting because C.J. Gardner-Johnson made a bucket because they had a little basket involved and he made a basketball shot. And Nick Sirianni said, if you make this bucket, then we will cancel the meeting. And the social media team blasted it on Twitter and Instagram and all the platforms, and you could see the bond that each other had in the room. I want you to listen to Nick Sirianni. This was August 4th. It's 1 minute and 10 seconds. Listen to the importance of spending time together and not being able to simulate it in other ways. The connecting, the bond.
Particular, and how often do you do it?
I'll tell you why, Chauncey in particular. He didn't. We had an important meeting that day, and they were all shooting beforehand. The guys are really connecting in that team. Right before the team meeting, there's a little bit of a break, and I noticed, guys are in there hanging out. Guys are in there shooting. We have a PlayStation in there. Guys are, before when they have downtime, they're hanging out. You can't substitute connecting without, spending time together. You can't, you got to spend time together. So they're in there, and Chauncey hadn't made a shot. He wasn't even close. So we really needed our meeting, and they were having a good time. I'm like, you know what? Let's put something on this. Hey, meetings are, the team meeting's canceled if Chauncey makes this, and he drilled it. So I don't know if he hustled me. He might have been hustling me. But he hit the shot. Guys went crazy. You can't simulate. We made up the meeting the next day, right? They got a little bit of a break there, but we made up everything we needed to make up the next day. But you can't simulate those things, and those things are the building of the team.
Now listen. I believe that is real. I really do. The togetherness, the family, the want to for the guy next to you to put all your sweat into the left and right when you're sitting there in your stall and you're seeing your brothers who are also putting on the pads for Sirianni's sake, or someone who's putting on that uniform in the Sixers locker room. This is not a bond. This is not a group of brothers. These are very individualized players currently, focused on themselves. Some guys are willing. Some guys are willing to go out there and ball, and I'm not saying it's everyone, because we like McCain and we like Yabusele, and some guys are competing, but it starts with the Joel Embiid experience, and he's not setting the tone that they matter. He's not setting the tone that this is a family and this is a group that he wants to go to war with. This is more along the lines of, I hate this town. He's pulling an Alec Boehm. He's a I hate this effing place kind of guy, and that is not going to create a winning culture and a winning attitude. Nick Sirianni stresses this all the time. You can have a great team on paper, but what really makes a great team is those special relationships. And as much as those core values always piss me off just from a general sense, man, when you simplify it and bring it out that way, it is so true. And when you see the opposite, it's extremely telling. And right now, the extreme opposite is in the Wells Fargo Center, and that is not a group of men that want to play for one another. They just had a team meeting. I'm going to say this again. They just had a team meeting where they addressed how much there needs to be massive change. And their first time being able to respond to that public team meeting it was a private team meeting that went public, and it was very, very noisy that, hey, things were happening behind the scenes here, right? Everyone knew and understood that. The first time that you got a chance to prove that the meeting worked, you were getting blown out by double digits to an extremely shorthanded Memphis team that probably went into the night thinking, if this happens to be a loss due to the fact that we are missing some of our premier talent, I understand. Remember, Doc Rivers would punt regular season games all the time? The Memphis Grizzlies punted that game. And they were up double digits on you late as hell. And no, there should be no pride in any sort of climb back or fight back or, hey, with a minute and plus to go, it became a 6-point game. Shove that up your rear end. I do not give a damn about that. If you actually showed up to fight, if you showed up to compete, if you showed up with urgency to start the game off, then maybe we're not even that predicament. I mean, think about this. We're talking about a season that they're 2-12, and there was a game Joel Embiid played where he couldn't even get a free throw attempt. Something is seriously wrong if Joel Embiid can't even get a free throw attempt. And I'm talking about the mentality's wrong, not the physical side of him. No, I don't think he's right. But even not right, you can see him go to the line. He went to the line yesterday. He didn't have a bad game. But it's really not about bad or good games anymore. I don't think dropping 30 plus can save him. Now, 55, 60, 70, okay, maybe that. Maybe that. If he drops 68 the next 4 games in a row and wills his team to victory, then yeah, there probably is something that could be said about the emotional turnaround to some level with the fans. But that's not sustainable. You know that. I think on a day-to-day basis, we're going to get the most random Embiid. Some days it's going to look like he's not in shape whatsoever. The next day it's going to look like he can play. Then he'll miss a back-to-back. Then Maxey will play 5 minutes in the first half again, and the whole thing. The whole thing. It's unbelievable. They're 2-12. It's more about the energy. It's more about just the vibes than it is Embiid giving you 35. That's not going to impress me. You dug yourself in such a crazy hole. I mean, imagine this. Imagine your significant other cheats on you, and you're willing to give them a chance after that. And the first day it happens, the first official day after you work everything out, and you agree that, look, I'm not breaking up with you, blah, blah, blah. They come here and they give you a piece of gum. Give you a piece of gum and a little peck on the cheek. You good then? That's 35 points, couple rebounds, a nice effort against Memphis. That's a piece of gum and a peck on the cheek after that woman cheated on you. You got a long way to go. All right? You want me to pull my pants down and we can get after it in the bedroom? Ain't happening after a piece of gum and a peck on the kiss. I'll tell you that. You got a long way to go to win me back. Well, same applies with this basketball team. And I don't think we ever get there. And that's why the Sixers have to start over. They just do. We gave it a shot. I brought up the Jets earlier. When everything happened this past week with Joe Douglas getting canned and just all the nonsense in New York, I dabbled with New York Sports Talk Radio because I wanted to get a sense of what it was like and how it was burning down there with both football teams and Daniel Jones benched and they bring in a backup for $5 million. They're not even going to that backup. They're throwing back in Tommy chicken cutlets and the whole thing. It's a disaster. And I was enjoying their tears and their disasterness. That's just what it is. And yes, that's probably a personal problem, but I don't give a damn. And they at least... That's the wrong way to start it off. They were talking about with Aaron Rodgers. Hey, we gave this thing a shot. He got injured. The Achilles happened. We never got to really experience it the way we wanted to, but we got to move on. We gave it a shot. We got to move on. Same applies here with Joel Embiid. We gave it a shot. When it's time to move them, you got to move them. You just got to move them. And I label it like this. I don't think McCain and Maxey are good enough to win you a championship. Now, you're going to improve the roster over time, so there's plenty of moves to be made that could be added to Maxey and McCain that could help out. But this has a 0% chance of winning a championship. 0. That may have a .02. That may have a .05. I've been one of the biggest messengers in town that Maxey's not a real number one, and I stand by that. This gives you a 0% chance of winning. Joel Embiid and the Sixers now. You can't win with this. His attitude is so off base, and I don't think it's automatically going to snap back into place. You can't win with this Joel Embiid. You just can't. And it's already started. The friction is real. He hates it here now. It's done. Maxey, McCain, and moves over the years. That may have a 0.1% chance. That's better than 0. And that's sort of my philosophy with where we are. They're 2-12, people. The 76ers are 2-12 right now. I mean, I just want to throw up just saying that statement. And now I got people calling out Nick Nurse that he's an idiot, he's this, he's that. He hasn't been good. He has not been good. I've been saying this since Brett Brown. You can only go as far as the players on your team. And when there's been systemic problems from day one with Embiid, with how they've handled him, and then you take over a franchise after 2 or 3 regimes, there's a common denominator here. Look, I hate his rotations. I hate throwing a bunch of people in there every single day, 50,000 different rotations and lineups. And I don't like what Nick Nurse has done. And I feel Nick Nurse has cracked significantly faster than I ever would have anticipated a championship caliber coach cracking under these circumstances. I would have thought he could hold his feet a little bit firmer. Okay? So I don't like what Nick Nurse has done. But based off of where this team is, it's about Embiid. This thing right now is about Embiid. It's causing everything to go wrong. Embiid is. Embiid's causing everything to go wrong. Like, I even feel part of Maxey's struggles is just about the mojo, the vibe. It's a very toxic work environment. And yes, in theory, a coach's job is to make sure the work environment is good. But the Sixers have mismanaged Embiid for so long that the coach doesn't have the power here. Embiid is all the power. So it's not set up in a standard dynamic where the coach is the one that incorporates what the coach wants. And you can't just step in and change that all of a sudden when it's been a certain way for so long. So there's plenty of reasons if you want to look at Nick Nurse and coaching on why it's been bad. Like, he has not lived up to the expectations. He has not lived up to the hype. And I'm not tied to Nick Nurse. It's just with the current state of the franchise, this goes as Embiid goes. This doesn't go as Nick Nurse goes. This goes as Embiid goes. And I'm at the point now where I think you got to move on from Embiid. And that will trump any other discussion about this basketball team right now. Even without McCain. If they didn't have McCain, I'd be saying this. Right? Like, that's just what it is. Even if they didn't have Maxey, it doesn't matter. Now, they do have nice little weapons on their perimeter and in their backcourt that makes it a little intriguing. But even without those pieces, I'd still be saying the same thing about Joel. Can't work like this. Can't win like this. It's unbelievable. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. The Sixers team sucks. I'll talk to you all on the next one. Have a good day.